It's Eric. There is a very real possibility that I will be dead before the night is over. In fact, I'm counting on it. This email is my final attempt to set the record straight. Please read it, every word of it. No one knows the full story of what has happened to me these last 6 months, and I need someone to read it. I need someone to believe me. Please help spread this. Share it with the police, with my coworkers, with Kara. I don't drink and drive, ever, but one night around midnight I was driving like I could have been drunk. I was on my way home from the city to Columbus, just under 2 hours. I was furious. Not a good time to drive. I was almost home. I turned onto Highway 80. Not a car in sight. The long drive wasn't enough to clear my head. I was almost home and would get a surge of new anger every time I'd think about it. I was screaming, punching the steering wheel. It started to rain. I had lost my job of 12 years for someone else's mistake. Carpentry. Greg Becks, another guy I work with. He and I were working for months on a safe room, rich family's basement. He installed the wrong deadbolt. Absolute fool of a move. I told him which one to get. Didn't matter. Someone broke in, and I was fired. Suddenly, through the haze of my anger, I saw a man in the middle of the highway. It all happened so quickly, it was like he just appeared. He was dressed all in yellow, track pants and sweater. And the look. I saw it for a split second in my headlights, but I'll never forget it. He was just as shocked as I was. I hit him hard. The front of my car smashed in. The sound was enormous. The airbags went off. I slammed the brakes. All of a sudden I was sitting there, completely still, completely afraid. The sound of the rain pelting my car, the frantic back and forth of the wipers, smoke billowing from the hood, the smell of something burning. Eventually I came to my senses, turned the car off and pushed the passenger door open. My door was jammed. He's made it through the front door. Fear. It came out of me like some foul odor. I was more conscious of it than the pain. My neck was stiff. It felt like somebody had taken a bat to my chest. I crouched down on the wet asphalt, catching my breath, trying not to throw up. That's when the questions started piling up in my mind. Did I kill a man? Would I go to jail? For the rest of my life, would I never see my family? My fiancée, Kara? That fear. It was like a hand clenched tightly on my lungs, suffocating. I felt my body temperature rise. But that wasn't like the fear I'm feeling now, currently. No, it's something altogether different now, more primal, like being hunted for food. I got up and looked around for the man in yellow, but other than my smashed-in car, I couldn't find any sign that I'd hit anyone. I walked up and down the road, already drenched through from the rain, turned my phone's flashlight on, was looking up and down in the bushes and mud on the sides of the road. Nothing. The only thing I could see were the tire marks I'd left. No blood, no clothing. I thought maybe the rain had washed the blood away. Or maybe the man didn't die. Maybe I'd hurt him real bad, but he got up and walked away. It's possible. But the way I hit him, no way a man could survive that. Back in my car, I pulled aside the deflated airbag and turned the key to see if it would start. All I got was a grinding response. About 20 minutes went by. The rain slowed down and then stopped. I got out of the car again. The road and woods on either side were quiet. He's got to be out there, I thought. I looked around in the dark and hesitantly yelled, "Hello?" I didn't recognize my own voice. I swallowed. "Hello!" I shouted again, louder. Nothing. After snapping out of the shock, I realized the sun was beginning to rise. I must have been out there for hours. I didn't have insurance. I could have called Kara. Didn't. Cars began appearing on the highway. Flagging one down was easy with my large prop on the side of the road. I was driven home by a middle-aged bald man in a truck. I forget his name. I don't remember anything that was said between us. I don't even know how long that state of shock is supposed to last. I feel like I'm still in it. About 2 days later, I went to the police and confessed. I couldn't live with the guilt. Months later, I was informed there would be no trial, because there was no body, no evidence. I told Kara, of course, and she sympathized with me. And then I started telling other people, my friends at the bar, my old colleagues. But there's a look people give you when they're assessing your mental health. It makes you consider how sane you really are. But I was obsessed. How could I not be? How could I continue living as normal? Kara left me. Within a span of 3 months, I'd lost my job, lost my fiancée, and potentially killed a man. He's looking for me upstairs. But that's not the reason I'm writing this. I hope you're still reading this. Every word, okay? Print it out. Read it again. Mail a copy to the police. Send one to Kara. I'm writing this because I need someone to believe me. I'm not crazy. And yes, I'm aware that telling you I'm not crazy probably is an indicator that I am, but I'm not. There's no history of mental illness in my family. Sure, I was pissed about losing my job, but I did not imagine this. Let me tell you more. I got a part-time job filling shelves at Walmart. Came home one day, around 6 p.m. Wasn't dark yet, but about to be. There was something there, waiting for me in the sunroom, which is at the front of my house. A neatly folded yellow sweater lying on the table. The sight of that thing. It felt like someone had thrown a hot blanket on me. My temperature rose. I began to shake. The door to the sunroom had been locked, like it always was, and the door from the sunroom into my house was also locked. But this was just the beginning. How the hell did it get there? I didn't put it there. Someone put it there. I had all my locks changed. I spent what savings I had for the canceled wedding on a security system. Alarms, cameras. I didn't work night shifts anymore. I'd already built a safe room in the basement. Another 3 months passed. Nothing out of the ordinary. Hell, I started to feel almost normal again. Then one night I finished my shift at 5 and walked home before dark. I watched some TV, some stupid superhero thing. I made a sandwich for dinner, read part of a book. I think it was about 10 when I turned the lights out and got into bed. It was when I'd pulled the covers over me and turned on my side to get comfortable that I felt something at the end of the bed. Under the covers, with my bare feet. I just remember it feeling cold and wet. I threw the covers off in a panic and turned the light on. That's when I saw it. It was so silent outside. No wind or cars, no nothing. Just silence. But you know when silence has a noise, like a fuzzy sound in your ears? That was so loud. I slowly took a step toward the bed and lifted up a wet pair of perfectly folded yellow track pants. I wanted to crawl into a ball and just be dead. The fact that they were folded neatly, like they were on display in a department store or something, that was somehow what scared me the most. That someone had recently taken the trouble to put them there just so and then make my bed over them. I couldn't touch them. I flicked them off the bed with my foot. Took a pair of tongs. Tried setting them on fire in the sink, but they were too wet for that. I threw them out back and burned them the next day. I felt so desperately alone. I still do. Imagine what that's like, would you? People are looking at you like you're some kind of crazy person when you're perfectly fine, telling you you're paranoid when you have every right to be. The loneliness of it all, like a man lost at sea and no one knows or cares. I tried opening up to a friend at work about it, Bill. His name was, older man. We got along well. We were packing shelves one day and I said, Bill, have you ever had the sense that someone is following you? Watching you? I knew right away that the question made him uncomfortable. He just stared straight ahead at the body wash he was filling, and after a moment said flatly, Never, Eric, never. I'm sure he, like everyone else in this town, had heard about what happened to me, my dealings with the police. It was after that incident with Bill that I made the decision to stop talking about the man in yellow. He's coming back down the stairs. Why bother? It's so infuriating. Knowing you're not crazy, knowing you're telling the truth. And people you tell, at best, nod sympathetically. Ask you if there's any chance you could have dreamt it. He's walking down to the basement. At around 2 a.m. this morning, about an hour ago or so, I heard someone pounding on my front door. I leapt out of bed before I was awake, coming to my senses, trying to decipher what it was and where it was coming from, standing rigid, heart pounding in my chest. Yes, it was my front door. Someone was pounding on it with their fist. I told myself it might be the police. The pounding stopped. I tiptoed down the hallway to the entrance of my home. I peered out a window. Didn't see anything. Suddenly, the door that opens to my front yard, the sunroom door, shattered loudly. Glass spilling into the room as if someone had thrown a brick from the outside. I ducked down, shielding my head with my arm instinctively. I stood up slowly and waited. Silence. I probably should have called the police at that point or taken off running out the back door, but I was paralyzed with a need to know. I needed to know if I had taken a life that night on the highway, or if the man following me was, in fact, the man I had hit and not dead at all. At that point, I wasn't sure which of the two theories I wanted to be true, but I needed answers to the 6 months of hell I'd been living in. Suddenly, as I was about to open the wooden door in front of me that leads into the sunroom, the banging started again, this time on the wooden door directly in front of me. I looked through one of the horizontal panes of glass into the sunroom. I could hear the banging, but I couldn't see anyone. If there was someone there, I should have been able to see the person from where I was. I couldn't. I tripped over my own feet in fear, trying to run away down the hall into my basement, into this almost complete safe room. Using all my body weight, I pushed shut the huge steel door and locked myself in. I sat down at this desk, and I haven't stopped shaking. Watching the monitors that show the live camera feed I'd installed all around the house, I almost can't believe it. It's him. It's the man. The man in yellow I'd hit on the highway is in my house, looking for me. I thought the fear was at its peak, but every time his face passes the camera, I see that it holds that same look of shock I saw for a split second that night when I hit him with my car. The top half of his face looks worried, the bottom half outraged. This shape-shifting look seems to be plastered on, as if a mask, but it's not a mask. This is the face of the man I killed. And this was the face he made when I hit him. He's in my bedroom, looking under my bed. In my bathroom, throwing the shower curtain aside. His face, such a horrific expression, looking for me. He turns to leave and looks up. He's found me. He's looking directly into the camera eye. This is the longest I've stared at his face. It looks like how I feel. Panic escalating. I can hear him at the lock. I remember back to the banging that woke me up, the glass that seemed to shatter on its own. Something about not being able to see this man in real life makes me think he's not of this world. Makes me think sooner or later he will find a way to get into this room. This is where I am now, writing this to you. This is not a joke or some crazy story. Part of me wishes for death before he gets in here. I want it to be over, but not by him. God help me. I'm hitting send. Tell Kara. Tell everyone. He's in.
Instant webmail alert. Address not found. Your message wasn't delivered because the address couldn't be found or is unable to receive email.